When I was a young girl studying at uni, my Islamic knowledge was a bit limited, so I didn't really understand the importance of having a Ramadan schedule. But later on, when I studied Islamic sciences, I had a Ramadan schedule, which really helped me to balance between my spiritual duties as a Muslimah and my responsibilities as a student. Today, I want to share my personal tips with Muslim students, hoping inshallah they will help you to balance between your spirituality and studies this Ramadan. If you're new to Islamic Snippets, I am Saika, a qualified alima, and on this channel I talk all about Islam and self-development. My first tip to you is intention. Islam, it's a way of life. Everything we do in our life can become a form of ibadah. So when I was studying in Ramadan, or when I had essays or exams in Ramadan, my intention was all of this time spent in my studies, it's a form of ibadah. Okay, it was a bit easy for me because I was studying Islamic sciences, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're studying medicine or finance or engineering. Have the right intention. For example, through my studies, I want to earn halal living, I want to spend on my family, I want to give charity, I want to support the community. As long as you've got the right intention, all of that time spent in your studies, it's a form of ibadah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, seeking knowledge, it's fard. So as a student, you are fulfilling a fard, an obligatory act. So make sure you have the right intention and you see your studies as a form of worship. My second tip is plan ahead. Now, there are quite a few templates on Pinterest. Personally, I did not write down my plan. Like, I always plan in my head, because if I'm just planning in my head, it helps me to stay flexible yet also be productive. When I start writing things down, I feel a bit of pressure that I have to stick to them and it feels a bit rigid. But do whatever works for you, either writing or planning ahead, but make sure you have some sort of a plan for your Ramadan. When planning, there are a few things you need to keep in mind. The first thing that you need to keep in mind is, what kind of person are you? Are you an early bird or a night owl? When does your brain work fresh? Personally, for myself, my brain works really fresh in the morning. For some people, their brain actually works really well at night time. So your plan should be according to the time your brain is actually more alert and can focus more on studies. And usually in Ramadan, our brain's actually working quite slow just before iftar, 1 or 2 hours before iftar because we're hungry, and 1 or 2 hours after iftar because we're quite full. So when planning your study time, just be mindful of what time suits you the best. Also, a part of your plan has to be a list of to-do things this Ramadan and to avoid things this Ramadan. Why is this to-do list and to avoid list so important? Let me explain that to you. In the Quran, in Surah Baqarah, ayah number 183, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that fasting has been prescribed for you just how it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may attain taqwa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is clearly telling us that the end result of this fast has to be that we attain taqwa. What is taqwa? The word taqwa, it's derived from the word wiqaya. Wiqaya means to protect, to prevent, to be precautious. So when we say that we have taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that means we try our best to protect ourselves from the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are cautious of our actions. If these actions are bad, they will have bad consequences, and we want to prevent those bad consequences. So the purpose of our to-do list in Ramadan, it's to attain Allah's pleasure, and the purpose of to avoid list, it's to protect ourselves from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's anger. And if we are actually able to carry out this to do and to avoid list, that's actually a sign that that Ramadan we have been able to achieve taqwa. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that whoever cannot give up lying and bad conduct, then Allah is in no need of this person giving up the food or drink. Because when you give up food or drink, but your bad behavior is there, you're lying, ghiba, slander, all those bad habits are still there, that's a sign you have not attained taqwa. So it's so important to have a to-do list and a to-avoid list of this Ramadan and work on them. So what should you have in your to-do list? It's very, very personal, but I'll give you some recommendations. My first recommendation is have suhoor, don't skip it. I used to skip my suhoor when I was in uni and it wasn't good, and I never skipped it when I did my Islamic sciences and really benefited me. At suhoor time, make sure you eat food which releases energy slowly and stay hydrated. This will really help you to perform better throughout the day. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, in suhoor there is blessing. My second recommendation is, since you're up for suhoor anyways, it's very easy to actually pray tahajjud. Pray what is easy for you, even if it's just 2 rak'ah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever prays qiyam in the month of Ramadan with firm belief and hoping reward in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will forgive all of his previous sins. So Qiyamul Layl, it's basically a Taraweeh and Tahajjud in the month of Ramadan. And pray whatever is easy for you with khushu'. Just remember, quality is much better than quantity. My third recommendation is recite the Quran. Ramadan is the month of the Quran. Quran was revealed in this month. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite Quran to Jibreel alayhi salam this month. So this is the month of reciting the Quran and also ponder over it. So most of you, you probably just don't understand Arabic. So when you're reciting, make sure you read English translation and take some time to ponder on some ayat so you can get into the habit of actually pondering. Because remember, the main purpose of the Quran is to actually understand and act upon it, not just to merely recite. Also, one more thing, in Ramadan, we all try to, do Khatm al-Quran. We all try to finish the entire Quran. But with sisters, when they're menstruating, many of them, they actually don't recite the Quran. So I just want to tell you some different fatwas regarding that. According to Hanafis, you cannot recite Quran when menstruating as a form of ibadah, as a form of worship. But according to Malikis, you can recite the Quran when you are menstruating as a form of worship. The only thing is you cannot touch the mushaf. You can recite, from your phone or tablet, or maybe just wear gloves and touch the mushaf. But you cannot directly touch the mushaf. Personally, I used to follow the Hanafi opinion, but some time ago, I actually really delved into the evidence. And after looking at all the evidence, I'm actually inclined to the Maliki opinion now. So that's what I'm sharing with you, but follow whichever madhab, is easy for you. Having a to avoid list, it's very important for taqwa as well. So one of my recommendation is that understand your emotions. When we are fasting, we are hungry. That can make us a bit moody and angry. And it's so important to understand our emotions and manage them. We have no right to take out our anger on others. That is a form of dhulm. And remember, a fast accompanied with bad behavior, misconduct, has no value. Another thing we need to be very careful we avoid, it's riba, slandering, unnecessary complaining, gossip. There are so many hadith about guarding our tongue. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever believes in Allah and the last day, let him speak good or remain silent. Now these are very big words. He's saying believes in Allah and the last day. Sometimes slip of the tongue can happen, and as soon as you realize, oh my God, I've just said something which I shouldn't have, just quickly do tawbah. My next tip is that if you really truly want to have a productive Ramadan, you have to cut out your screen time. We spend too much time on social media, on just scrolling on Insta and TikTok, and you just have to stop that. So when you actually want to relax and you feel like I want to use social media, just replace it with something good. So instead of random scrolling, maybe you can just listen to an Islamic lecture, a prophet story, tafsir, or read a book. Do something good with your time. Don't waste time. My next tip is that make sure you take some breaks and you rest. Personally, I used to take a power nap during my lunch times, about 20-minute power nap. And that really used to help me to be more alert in my evening or afternoon lessons. But make sure your power nap is not more than 20 minutes, I would say, because if it's longer, you're actually going to become more lazy afterwards. My final tip is make sure you sleep well. I've actually been reading this book, Why We Sleep, and the author in this book, he actually talks about the importance of good sleep, how good sleep actually helps, with our memory consolidation, whereas lack of sleep actually just increases the stress hormones, which in return make us feel more tired, and they make us more moody. And we don't want to feel tired this Ramadan. We don't want to be moody, and we want to have best behavior. And for that, it's very important actually to sleep. So remember, quality sleep is actually going to help you to become a better Muslim. If you find my video useful, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.